Welcome to the Spring Sports Preview edition of Inside the Huddle. I'm Muskingum University Sports Information Director Tom Caudill, and joining me to preview the 2010 Muskingum softball season is the all-time career softball wins leader in NCAA Division III history, Muskingum head coach Donna Newberry. Coach, the softball program has achieved remarkable success under your guidance. That success includes 18 Ohio Athletic Conference championships, 18 trips to the NCAA Regional Tournament, 8 trips to the NCAA World Series, 1 national championship, and 11 straight years of being ranked in the national top 25. What kind of expectations does that add to the team each year and to you as a coach?
Well, I think once you've started to win at the level at which we have won, which is consistently and often, people simply do expect you to win. And I'd much rather be in that position where we're expected to win than be a program that consistently loses and kind of be expected to lose, and you surprise people when you win. So it does put a little bit of pressure on you as far as the expectation being that you'll have a great season, that maybe you'll win a conference championship, hopefully you'll make postseason play. That's what people expect us to do. Anything less than that, even though it might be a great season by most people's standards, by us it would just be an average season. So, we hope to continue to do what we have done, but every year brings its own set of challenges, and sometimes as I reflect on the past and the future, it seems like it gets more and more difficult.
As we look at it on paper for the team this year, it looks like you'll field a young team. How important is it for the seniors, Katie Reese and Chloe Maloney, and your junior, Mary Margaret Boda, to provide leadership on the field and off this season?
Well, we will have a very young team. You're exactly right about that. And, I think even most of those players that you mentioned will have to compete for their positions. They have not necessarily, at least 2 of those. Now, Boda has started since her freshman year, but both Maloney and Reese have not necessarily started year in and year out for us. So they have quite a bit of experience. They were starters last year, but even they will have to compete for their positions. So I think we've got a lot of quality young players. The question will just be, will the older players be able to kind of give us a gel to keep us together until we get everything figured out? And if the older players are not able to step up, which you hope they will do, but if they don't, I think we've got some very talented younger players that are ready and willing to seize the opportunity. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Now, you do return 5 of your top hitters from last year's team. The team was nationally ranked, won 26 games, advanced the OAC tournament. Does that excite you for the offensive potential this year?
I think we'll be a little bit of a different type of offensive team. Last year we kind of were an all-or-nothing team where we had a handful of hitters that were very, very good that we had to depend on almost solely to produce our runs, and then another part of our order that just kind of dropped off, and getting the key hit there was the exception. I think we have all the way through the lineup this year, we'll have an opportunity to have hitters that maybe are a little bit more consistent. We won't ebb and flow quite as much. We might not have the highs quite as high as they were, but hopefully we won't have the lows quite as low as they were, and we'll balance out to be a team that can produce RBIs all the way through the lineup and do what we need to do offensively.
Muskingum opens the season at the National Training Center in Clearmont, Florida, against a top 10 opponent in Washington University of St. Louis. You also face the competition in Muhlenberg, Sage, and Pitt Bradford. What's your goal coming out of these 4 games?
Well, those first 4 games for us will hopefully help us establish a better feel for our lineup and our batting order. It's not necessarily critical that we win all of those games. It would be nice if we could or would, but primarily we want to come out of there with some answers. Our pitching is very much untested. We have a very young pitching staff. Right now I could almost put names in a hat and draw them out to try to figure out what a batting order should be. So hopefully by the end of those first handful of games we'll have a better feel for maybe the combinations that work together the best on the field and the batting order that is able to produce some runs so that we can get settled in and then start to work on some of the other details.
Now, after the National Training Center, you head to the prestigious NFCA Division III Leadoff Classic in Panama City, Florida. This tournament will feature 12 of the current top 30 preseason teams in the country. Will this be a good measuring stick for the Muskies?
Well, I think it'll definitely be a good test. I think if it came later in the season, it would be a more fair measuring stick, because I think this is a team that will improve fairly quickly based on how young we are and how talented we are. So it's an awfully stiff test this early in the season. How fair it will be, I don't know, but I think it will help us to understand at the level we need to play in order to be competitive in like postseason play or to compete for conference championships. It'll expose the areas where we need to improve, and hopefully it will give us some encouragement, because I'm sure we're going to do a lot of things there well, in addition to some of the mistakes that we make. So I think it will highlight all those areas, and hopefully we can get things fixed before we go into conference play, if in fact there are things that do need to be fixed.
Finally, Coach, if the Muskies are to contend for their 19th OAC championship this season, what is it that Muskingum will have to do throughout the year?
Well, we'll have to play consistently. The softball season, by the nature of the sport, is a very short and compact season. Once you start the OAC schedule, you're playing at least 4 games in a week, and sometimes if you get backed up with rain, as many as 6 OAC games in a week, or possibly even 8. So you can't afford to ebb and flow week to week where you have a little slump. A little slump in this sport can kill you, because you can lose 4 games in a 2-day slump. So we have to play consistently. We have to make sure that we take care of business at home. We have to make sure that when we're on the road, we win more than our share. You simply cannot afford to get swept double headers and think you're going to stay in contention to win a conference championship. So we need to sweep most of our double headers and at least split on a few others, and just kind of see where it takes us. But this team will have to grow up in a hurry. We are very young, but I'm hoping that this early season difficult schedule will help us grow so that we're ready to face the OAC contenders.
Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today on this special edition of Inside the Huddle, the softball preview show, and wish you the best of luck in the 2010 campaign.
Thanks, Tom.